You ever wondered why some guys, average at best, walk into a room and suddenly they're the center of gravity? And yet others, maybe even you, try hard, play nice, dress well, say the right things, and still feel invisible. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Attraction is not fair. It is not democratic. It does not reward effort. It rewards presence, certainty, and power. You attract what you are, not what you want. Dr. Wayne Dyer. This single quote stopped me cold one night. I realized I had been chasing attraction like a boy chases butterflies, desperate, clumsy, and never still. I wanted connection, respect, admiration, but I was not embodying the man who naturally commands it. Attraction starts before a word is spoken. It is a signal, an unspoken message. It says, I know who I am. I do not chase. I do not seek permission. I am the mountain. She is the wind. Think about it. The most magnetic people you've met, did they seem desperate to please? No. They were calm, centered, almost dangerous in how little they needed approval. That is not arrogance. That is alignment. Women feel it instantly. Their instincts are not logical. They are biological. They respond to energy, conviction, direction, not polished shoes or clever lines. This is why the quiet, grounded man often outshines the loud, needy one. I saw this firsthand when I worked with a client tall, handsome, successful, and completely invisible to women. Why? Because every word he spoke came from fear of rejection. Then there was Daniel Short, scar on his cheek, average job, but when he walked in, the room leaned toward him. He had presence. He knew his path. He was unapologetically himself. Let that sink in. You cannot fake presence. You cannot fake depth. Attraction is not about convincing. It is about becoming. So before we dive deeper into how to be an attractive man, ask yourself this. Are you truly a man you would follow? Because if the answer is no, then do not expect anyone else to follow you either. This journey is not about tricks, hacks, or borrowed confidence. It is about building yourself into someone who does not chase attraction because he embodies it. And if you are ready, really ready to go there, let us begin. 1. The power of storytelling. Why she feels you or forgets you. You can talk for hours, but if she feels nothing, you said nothing. We live in a world full of noise. Men trying to impress. Men reciting accomplishments like a checklist. But here is the brutal truth. If your words do not create a feeling, they disappear the moment you stop talking. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Maya Angelou, most men talk to be heard. Very few talk to be felt. Storytelling is not about being interesting. It is about being emotionally real. When you tell a story, not just facts, but moments, you invite her into your world. Not as a listener, as a participant. She sees it, feels it. She starts to connect, not with your words, but with your essence. I remember a client named Jason. Smart guy, great job, talked a lot, but every date ended the same polite smiles, no second chances. Why? Because everything he said was performance. Nothing was felt. Then one session, he shared a quiet story about being 8 years old, standing alone in a hospital waiting room, scared, confused, while his father had surgery. His voice trembled a little, and for the first time, I saw the real Jason, not the shell. Just a few minutes of vulnerability, and suddenly, he had presence. Humanity, power. That story became his key to connection, not manipulation. The most powerful storytellers are not entertainers, they are revealers. You do not need wild adventures or dramatic pasts. You need honesty. Talk about the first time you felt like a failure, the weird thing that makes you cry, the moment you realized you were not the man you wanted to be. That is where your story lives. That is where she leans in. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung's storytelling is the bridge between authenticity and attraction. But be warned, storytelling is not bragging. Telling her how great you are is not a story. It is a sales pitch. She will smell it. She will disconnect. Fast. True storytelling has tension. It has struggle. It has you unguarded. That is what makes it powerful. That is what makes you unforgettable. So how do you practice this? Start small. Next time someone asks how your weekend was, do not just say, "It was fine." Say, "Actually, I went hiking alone, and halfway up, I almost turned back. I was afraid of being alone out there, but I kept going." Simple, honest, relatable. That is a real story. That is connection. And here is what I believe. Every man has stories that matter. Most just never learn to tell them. So start now. Find one story, one real moment. Let go of needing to impress, and just let her see who you are underneath the armor. Because in a world full of noise, truth is magnetic. And the man who learns to speak from his soul will never need to beg for attention again. 2. Looks matter, but only until you open your mouth. Let us get this straight. Your appearance gets you in the door, but it will not keep you in the room. There is a dangerous lie circulating among men's circles, the idea that looks do not matter. That if she is the right one, she will love me for who I am. That is comforting. It is also completely false. Done to judge a book by its cover is something only people with bad covers say. First impressions are built in seconds. Psychologists estimate it takes less than 7 seconds for someone to judge you. And let us be honest, those 7 seconds are mostly visual. It is not about being a model. It is about signals. Do you take care of yourself? Are you intentional about how you show up? That is where I see most men fail, not because they are unattractive, but because they look like they stopped trying. You do not need to be beautiful. You need to be sharp. You need to be someone who walks into a room and silently says, "I respect myself enough to be prepared for life." Take Mark, a former client. Early 40s. Brilliant guy. But he dressed like he had given up stretched out shirts, saggy jeans, shoes that told a sad story. He could not figure out why his dates never progressed. We changed nothing about his personality, nothing about his speech. All we did was elevate his appearance, tailored clothes, proper grooming, posture correction. 1 month later, he was going on second and third dates with women who used to ignore him. His transformation had nothing to do with vanity. It had everything to do with presentation. Dress like you've made something of yourself, even if you have not yet. Unknown looks are a tool, not the destination. Aesthetics do not define your worth, but they influence perception. When you walk into a space looking put together, it sends a powerful subconscious message. I am disciplined. I care. I lead myself. That is attractive, not the price tag on your outfit. And here is the twist: good looks without depth. Useless. Yes, your appearance may open a conversation. But if what follows is insecurity, neediness, or emotional emptiness, she will feel it. Attraction dies instantly. That is why you should see your look as entry-level magnetism. A polished man creates curiosity, but only a centered man creates connection. So what does this mean in practice? Keep your hair in check. Dress to match your body and energy. Stand up straight. Smell good. Smile like you are not seeking approval. Simple, doable, but most men still ignore it because deep down, they are afraid of being seen. And that is where everything starts. The courage to present yourself as someone worth knowing before you even say a word. So the next time someone says, "Looks do not matter," smile kindly and walk past them looking sharp, standing tall, and radiating presence. Because real attraction does not begin when she sees you. It begins when you see yourself differently. 3. Inner strength. the invisible force she can't walk away from. Looks catch her eye. Presence keeps her curious. But depth? Depth is what makes her stay. You have probably heard it before. Real attraction goes beyond looks. Sounds nice, but what does that actually mean? Here is the brutal truth. A man's inner world is the most potent, most undeniable form of magnetism there is. And if you do not build it, someone else will own the room while you are still adjusting your color. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius' character is not what you say when you are comfortable. It is who you are when everything falls apart. Strength of character is not sexy in the usual sense. It is not loud, but it is unforgettable. When a man stays calm while others panic. When he keeps his word even when it costs him. When he listens without trying to fix. That is power, and she feels it. I once coached a guy named Aaron. He was not tall, not rich, not the type most women claim to like. But he had something else. Stillness, clarity, integrity. He had lost his job during the pandemic, but never once complained. Instead, he used the time to volunteer, mentor younger men, and build a new skill set. When women met him, they listened longer. They leaned in, not because of what he said, but because of how he carried himself. That quiet strength spoke louder than any perfect jawline ever could. Your inner world is either working for you or against you. If you are easily offended, constantly seeking validation, or crumbling under small pressure, no outfit, quote, or smooth line will save you. Because deep down, women do not want a man they can dominate emotionally. They want a man who can hold space for them, for himself, for life's chaos. A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions. Marcus Aurelius. So what builds this kind of inner presence? Discipline, awareness, boundaries. Can you say no without guilt? Can you walk away from what insults your soul? Most men cannot. Most men chase comfort and wonder why they are ignored. Strength is not being cold. It is being warm with intention. It is knowing when to protect, when to challenge, and when to walk away. And here is the twist: women do not always understand why they are drawn to this type of man, but they are. They call it vibe, energy, a feeling. But what they are sensing is the work you have done in silence to become someone grounded, calm, and unapologetically himself. So ask yourself, would you trust yourself when life gets hard? If the answer is no, start there. Because if you do not respect your inner world, no one else will either. And once you do, you will not have to convince anyone of your value. You will radiate it, quietly, clearly, unshakably. 4. Patience. The art of the man who doesn't rush and never chases. If you are always in a hurry, she will feel it and she will run. In today's fast world, patience has become a lost art. Everything screams, now. Instant matches, instant replies, instant validation. But here is a paradox that unsettles most men. What arrives fast often leaves faster. In attraction, rushing is a sign of fear. And fear never attracts. It repels. Patience is not passive. On the contrary, it is concentrated strength. Bruce Lee. When a man is patient, he signals one thing: control. And control, in its highest form, is not about dominating others. It is about mastering yourself. When you move slowly, with intention, you tell the world, I am not desperate. I am not chasing. I choose. That subtle energy shift changes everything. I remember working with a man named Tyler, kind, grounded, but he was constantly rushing relationships. 3 dates in, and he was already imagining the one. When the woman pulled away, he panicked. He texted too much, checked her socials, lost himself. Why? Because he feared loss. And fear always sabotages attraction. After we worked together, Tyler slowed down. Not just with women, but with life. He started focusing on his own time, his own direction. He stopped reacting. He started choosing. And guess what? Women started chasing him. Not because he became a new man overnight, but because he stopped being emotionally chaotic. He who is not a good servant will not be a good master. Plato patience teaches you to serve time, not fight it. It grows your presence. It builds your silence. Women are not drawn to the man who rushes in. They are drawn to the man who observes, who listens, who allows space. That space builds tension, and tension, when handled right, becomes chemistry. But patience is not passivity. This is where many men go wrong. They think waiting equals doing nothing. No, patience means moving forward without forcing outcome. You do not need to text her 3 times a day. You do not need to check in constantly. If she is interested, space will not kill the connection. It will strengthen it. So what does real patience look like in action? It is the pause before reacting to a test. It is the confidence to wait for the right moment instead of forcing one. It is the strength to build a bond slowly, knowing that depth takes time. And here is something I learned the hard way: women trust time more than they trust words. You can promise anything, but when you consistently show up, calm, unbothered, still there, not needy, not pushing, that speaks louder than any romantic line ever will. Let me ask you something. If she needs space, can you give it without anxiety? If the path takes longer, can you stay on it without doubt? Because the man who can wait without shrinking is the man she cannot forget. In a world of men who rush and chase and panic, be the man who waits with quiet certainty. Because patience is not the absence of action. It is the refinement of power. 5. Stop being the nice guy. Be the man she can trust. If being nice worked, you would not still be wondering why she lost interest. Let us face it, there is a brutal difference between being liked and being respected. Most nice guys are not truly kind. They are agreeable, afraid, desperate to be chosen. And it shows. Nice guys do not finish last because they are nice. They finish last because they are weak. Jordan Peterson: the world does not reward politeness. It rewards integrity. Being reliable, being rooted, being a man who says what he means and means what he says. That is the kind of man women trust, and trust always trumps charm. I worked with a client named Kyle. Smart, funny, thoughtful. He went above and beyond, bought flowers, remembered birthdays, complimented constantly, but none of it worked. Women ghosted him, flaked, just wanted to be friends. He was furious. What do they want? He asked. I treat them right. The truth was hard to swallow. He was not real with them. He was nice to gain approval, not from strength, but from fear. When Kyle finally stopped trying to be perfect and started being honest, everything changed. He stopped saying yes to things he hated. He stopped apologizing for having boundaries. He started leading with truth, not performance. Suddenly, women listened when he spoke. They leaned in. They respected him. Not because he was less kind, but because he was finally grounded. It is better to be hated for what you are than loved for what you are not. Andre Gide: being dependable is not glamorous, but it is magnetic. If you say you will call, call. If you promise to show up, do it. If you are not feeling it, say so. Women notice every inconsistency. They test not to be cruel, but to feel your strength. Nice guys crumble under pressure. Trustworthy men hold the line. That means you can disagree without being defensive. You can walk away without resentment. You can love without losing yourself. And when you do that, when your energy says, I do not need to be liked, I just need to be real, something shifts. You become safe without being soft, strong without being rigid, direct without being cold. So ask yourself, do people trust you to show up when it matters? Do you trust yourself? Because until you do, until you build your words into contracts with your character, you will keep falling into the same exhausting pattern, chasing approval instead of earning respect. Women do not need a nice guy. They crave a reliable presence. A man who holds his values, protects his space, and does not compromise his truth for attention. Be that man, and you will not need to win her over. She will recognize something rare, and she will not want to let it go. 6. Passion and purpose. The unspoken magnet that pulls her in. She can tell within minutes if you are living with purpose or just drifting. There is a silent energy to a man on a mission. He does not brag. He does not overshare. He simply lives with intensity. And that intensity, unreal, pulls people in without a word. The mystery of human existence lies not in just staying alive, but in finding something to live for. Fyodor Dostoevsky's passion is not noise. It is presence. You can talk all day about dreams and plans, but if your daily actions do not align, she will feel the disconnect. Because passion is not about excitement, it is about direction. And direction breeds confidence. Not the fake kind. Not arrogance, but calm certainty. The kind that says, I know why I am here. I once worked with a man named Lewis. He was not conventionally attractive. Average height, soft voice. But when he spoke about architecture, everything changed. His eyes lit up. His gestures sharpened. His tone became clear, alive. And women noticed. They leaned in. Not because they cared about buildings, but because they were drawn to the fire behind his words. That is what passion does. It radiates. It tells her, this man is not lost. He has chosen himself. When you have a why, you can endure almost any how. Viktor Frankl, most men are not boring. They are just distracted. They scroll endlessly, work jobs they hate, say they want a relationship, but have built nothing worth inviting someone into. There is no structure, no aim, and women feel that. They do not want to join confusion. They want to witness momentum. Purpose does not have to be grand. It has to be real. You do not need to cure cancer or write the next bestseller. You need to care deeply about something. Enough to wake up early. Enough to stay late. Enough to build when no one is clapping. And yes, you will be misunderstood. Some people will say you are obsessed, too focused, too intense. Let them, because the man who is locked into his vision does not need permission. Here is the hard part. This path is lonely at first. While others chase comfort, you will chase growth. While others seek validation, you will seek mastery. But the irony is this: those who live with purpose become the rarest men alive. And women are not drawn to rare things because they are perfect. They are drawn because they are alive. So ask yourself, what are you building? What makes you lose track of time? What would you do if no one ever praised you for it? Because the man with answers to those questions does not need game. He becomes the game. You will not need to impress her when you are already impressing yourself daily. That is the kind of man she dreams of meeting, but rarely does. Be that man, quiet, focused, unstoppable. 7. Want to be attractive? Stop performing, start being real. Nothing kills attraction faster than pretense. You can dress well, memorize clever lines, pretend to be confident. But if it is not real, if it is not you sooner or later, she will feel it. And when she does, she will quietly disconnect. Not out of cruelty, but because something essential is missing: authenticity. Be yourself, everyone else is already taken. Oscar Wilde's real confidence is not loud, it is honest. The men who attract deeply are not the ones trying to impress everyone in the room. They are the ones at peace with themselves. They speak with clarity, not neediness. They show interest without begging. They walk away without drama. I once mentored a man named Sean. On paper, he had it all: great style, fit body, smooth talker. But his dating life was chaos. Every time a woman got close, she pulled away. Why? Because he was always on, always performing, always trying to be liked. He was exhausted, and so were they. When Sean finally dropped the act, everything shifted. He admitted he had fears. He admitted he hated small talk. He stopped pretending to enjoy things he did not. The result? He connected more. He relaxed. And women started trusting him, not because he was perfect, but because he was true. Faking confidence is temporary. Embodying who you are lasts forever. And here is the paradox. The more you try to be what you think she wants, the more unattractive you become. Because women are not drawn to perfection. They are drawn to congruence. To a man whose thoughts, actions, and words all align. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. Ralph Waldo Emerson. But let us be real. Being yourself takes courage. It is easy to perform. It is terrifying to be seen. To admit you do not have it all figured out. To reveal your quirks. To own your flaws. But that is where your strength lives. So how do you practice authenticity? Start noticing where you shrink or exaggerate to be liked. Stop apologizing for your truth. Share your real opinions, even if they challenge hers. Laugh when something is funny. Be silent when it is not. Walk away when something feels wrong. Because every time you choose truth over approval, you grow stronger. And every time you betray yourself to keep someone interested, you lose power. Let me leave you with a question. If no one ever clapped, ever validated, ever said, "I like you," would you still be proud of the man you are? If the answer is no, it is time to stop performing. Time to rebuild from the inside out. Because when you become the most honest, aligned, and unapologetic version of yourself, attraction is not something you chase. It is something you radiate, effortlessly, endlessly, without a single word. Conclusion. Attraction is a strategy, not a coincidence. If you still believe attraction is about luck, then you have already lost control of your own power. What we have uncovered here is not a list of surface-level tricks. It is a blueprint. A map of what truly makes a man magnetic. It is not about chasing attention. It is about becoming someone who naturally commands it. Success is where preparation and opportunity meet. Bobby Unser, let us recap what you now know. You know that storytelling, when rooted in truth, creates emotional connection. You understand that looks matter, but only as an entry point, not the foundation. You see that depth of character, integrity, stillness, presence is irresistible. You get that patience is power, not passivity. That reliability trumps niceness. And you have realized that passion and purpose speak louder than any line ever could. Finally, you have learned that authenticity, not perfection, is the rarest, most attractive trait of all. All of this adds up to one undeniable truth. Attraction is built intentionally, deliberately, daily. So here's the real question. What would happen if, starting today, you stopped trying to impress and started living like a man who already respects himself? How would you walk into a room? How would you speak? How would you treat yourself when no one is watching? We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle, you do not need to be perfect. You need to be consistent, consistently honest, consistently growing, consistently choosing strength over ease. Because the man who shows up for himself consistently builds gravity, and gravity is impossible to ignore. If this message hits something inside you, do not keep it to yourself. Leave a comment. What was your biggest realization today? Share this with a brother who needs to hear it. And subscribe, because the next video will take this even deeper. We are just getting started. Trust me, you will not want to miss what comes next. You are not made to chase. You were built to attract. Start proving it.